Welcome back, ladies and gents, to the She Knows Pro Football Podcast. Once again, I'm Alice, aka the NFL Girl. Now, with the third week of preseason complete, more teams have found themselves having to make some drastic changes before the final roster cutdowns next week. With that said, we're going to talk about Antonio Brown, Foreman, Jaylon Smith, Dontrelle Inman, Stephone Anthony, Jakeem Grant, Brandon Copeland, Damon Harrison, David Steinmetz, Michael Crabtree, Rudy Ford, Patrick Chung, Quincy Adeboyejo, Paul Worrilow, Lance Kendricks, Lamar Miller, and Andrew Luck. So let's start with the latest and hopefully last update on the Antonio Brown saga. Now, on Monday, the 31-year-old wide receiver filed a second grievance in regards to his helmet. This new grievance argued that Brown was not allotted a one-year grace period to transition to a new helmet. Patriots quarterback Tom Brady was advised last season that the style of helmet he wore had been banned for use by the NFL and the NFLPA, but he was given 1 year to make a transition to an approved helmet. Brown felt he deserved the same grace period. Brown's preferred helmet, the Shoot Air Advantage, was originally banned only because of its age. When Brown found a newer version of the same helmet, the league sent the helmet off for safety testing, and when it failed, banned it again for safety issues. But since the league didn't originally ban it because of the safety concerns, Brown felt his argument had merit. Brown's grievance was heard by an arbitrator on Friday, and for a second time, he lost his grievance. No further proceedings are expected, so Brown will have to make a switch to one of the approved helmets in order to play this season. Brown took to his Instagram to mock the decision, posting a photo of himself in a 1970s style NFL helmet. However, according to Pro Football Talk, Brown is close to picking a new helmet, which would include a custom made model and an endorsement deal. See, at the end of the day, Brown still gets a win. Running back Foreman's 2019 season is officially over. On Monday, NFL Network reported that the 23-year-old had suffered a torn bicep muscle and would be out for the season. Colts placed Foreman on injured reserve with recovery time for the injury slated at 4 months. The Texans released Foreman earlier this month, and the Colts were hopeful to get some production out of the young back. With the loss of the talented rusher, the team signed running back Kendricks West to fill the void. Linebacker Jaylon Smith has been a standout in his 3 seasons with the Cowboys, and the team rewarded him with the new deal. On Tuesday, ESPN reported that Smith signed a 5-year, $64 million contract with Dallas, including $35.5 million guaranteed and an average annual salary of $12.8 million. The 24-year-old was drafted in the second round by the Cowboys in 2016. Smith had suffered a torn ACL and MCL in his final collegiate appearance and spent the entire 2016 season on injured reserve. He would make his debut for the team in 2017 during his team's season opener against the Giants. Since that time, Smith has played in 32 games, starting 22. In his 3-year NFL career, Smith has amassed 202 tackles, 5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 6 pass deflections, and 1 defensive touchdown. With Smith's new deal in place, the team is still hoping to close a deal with running back Ezekiel Elliott before the season opener. Wide receiver Dontrelle Inman is making his return to the Chargers. Just days after being released from the Patriots, the 30-year-old was signed by Los Angeles. Inman previously played 4 seasons with the Chargers from 2014 to 2017. He played 41 games for the team, starting 23. In his 5-year NFL career, the veteran pass catcher has amassed 158 receptions for 2,101 receiving yards and 11 receiving touchdowns. Linebacker Stephone Anthony is being reunited with his former head coach. On Monday, NFL Network reported that the 27-year-old was signing with the New York Jets. He will be reunited with head coach Adam Gase, who he played under in Miami from 2017 to 2018. Anthony was drafted in the first round by the Saints in 2015. He would spend 2 seasons in New Orleans before being traded to the Dolphins in 2017. He would spend 2 seasons in Miami before signing with the Falcons this offseason. He was released by Atlanta on Sunday and signed with the Jets on Tuesday. In his 4-year NFL career, Anthony has amassed 149 tackles, 1 sack, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 1 interception, and 1 defensive touchdown. Wide receiver Jakeem is staying put in Miami for several more years. On Wednesday, NFL Network reported that Grant signed a 4-year, $24 million contract with the Dolphins, including an average annual salary of $6 million. The 26-year-old was drafted in the 6th round by the Dolphins in 2016. In his 3-year NFL career, the 5'7", 169-pound pass catcher has amassed 34 receptions for 471 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns, along with 2,036 return yards and 3 return touchdowns. The new deal locks Grant in Miami through the 2023 season. Linebacker Brandon Copeland will start the 2019 season away from the Jets. On Wednesday, ESPN reported that the 28-year-old had been suspended the first 4 games of the 2019 season for violating the NFL policy on performance-enhancing drugs. The loss of Copeland for the first 4 games is a blow to the team's defense, who lost linebacker Avery Williamson for the season with the torn ACL last week. Copeland played in all 16 games for the Jets last season. In his 6-year NFL career, the veteran defender has amassed 65 tackles, 5.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. Copeland will be available to practice and play for the remainder of the preseason, but with the Jets on bye in Week 4, he won't be available to hit the field in the regular season until Week 6 against the Cowboys. Defensive tackle Damon Snacks Harrison is staying in Detroit for 1 more year. On Wednesday, NFL Network reported that the 30-year-old signed a 1-year, $11 million contract extension with the Lions. Detroit acquired Harrison in a trade with the Giants last October. In his 10 games with the team, he made 50 tackles and 3.5 sacks. The veteran defensive lineman was signed by the Jets as an undrafted rookie in 2012. He spent 4 years with the Jets before signing with the Giants in 2016. He spent part of 3 seasons with the Giants before the trade last season. In his 6-year NFL career, the first-team All-Pro has amassed 436 tackles, 9 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 7 pass deflections, and 1 interception. Offensive tackle David Steinmetz's 2019 season is over. On Wednesday, ESPN reported that the 24-year-old was out for the season with a broken ankle. He underwent surgery Wednesday night to repair the damage. Steinmetz was signed by the Dolphins as an undrafted rookie out of Rhode Island in 2018. He was released and signed by the Texans to their practice squad last November. The offensive lineman was a second-string right tackle for the team and was playing for a chance at the 53-man roster this season. Wide receiver Michael Crabtree is headed west for the 2019 season. On Wednesday, NFL Network reported that Crabtree signed a 1-year, $3.25 million contract with the Arizona Cardinals. Crabtree was drafted with the 10th overall pick in the first round by the 49ers in 2009. He would spend 6 years in San Francisco before signing with the Raiders in 2015. He would spend 3 seasons in Oakland before signing with the Ravens in 2018. He spent 1 season in Baltimore before being released this offseason. In his 9-year NFL career, the veteran pass catcher has amassed 633 receptions for 7,477 receiving yards and 54 receiving touchdowns. The signing comes the same day the team released veteran wide receiver Kevin White. Eagles are making some moves to improve their secondary before the start of the season. On Thursday, ESPN reported that Philadelphia had traded defensive tackle Bruce Hector for Arizona Cardinals safety Rudy Ford. Hector was unlikely to make the 53-man roster as the Eagles are deep at the defensive tackle position. The trade for Ford gives the team more depth behind starting safeties Malcolm Jenkins, Rodney McLeod, and Andrew Sandejo. Ford will compete with Jonathan Cyprien, Trey Sullivan, Trey Elston, and DeAndre Hall for a spot behind those 3. Ford was a 6th-round pick by the Cardinals in 2017. In his 2-year NFL career, the 24-year-old has played in 23 games, starting 1, and amassed 14 tackles. Safety Patrick Chung has found himself in legal trouble that may cost him time away from the Patriots. On Thursday, ESPN reported that the 32-year-old was indicted in New Hampshire on a felony cocaine possession charge. Chung was indicted on August 8th for an incident that took place on June 25th in Meredith, New Hampshire. Meredith police were called to Chung's home for a service call, and during the course of the call obtained evidence that led to the possession charge. Chung was drafted by the Patriots in the 2nd round in 2009. He has spent all but 1 season of his playing career in New England. He is due in court on August 28th for the charges. New York Jets have added some much-needed depth at the wide receiver position. On Thursday, NFL Network reported that the Jets signed wide receiver Quincy Adeboyejo. The 24-year-old was signed by the Ravens as an undrafted rookie out of Ole Miss in 2017. He was signed to the team's practice squad in September of that year and promoted to the active roster that December. He spent the 2018 season on the physically unable to perform list and was waived by Baltimore this offseason. In a subsequent move, the Jets released wide receiver J.J. Jones. Jones played in the final game of the 2018 season for the Jets, but his spot on the 53-man roster this season wasn't guaranteed. Linebacker Paul Worrilow has decided to leave the football field behind. On Saturday, the 29-year-old announced his retirement from the NFL. The stunning announcement came just one day after he signed with the Baltimore Ravens. Worrilow was signed by the Falcons as an undrafted rookie out of Delaware in 2013. He spent 4 years in Atlanta before signing with the Lions in 2017. He spent 1 year in Detroit before signing with the Eagles in 2018. He would spend 1 year in Philadelphia before his release this offseason. In his 6-year NFL career, the 6-foot, 230-pound veteran has amassed 415 tackles, 4 sacks, 11 pass deflections, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions. Tight end Lance Kendricks is starting his 2019 season unable to hit the field. On Saturday, NFL Network announced that the 31-year-old had been suspended for the first game of the 2019 season for violation of the league's policy and program on substances of abuse. Kendricks received probation in July for a 2017 marijuana possession charge in which he pleaded no contest. Kendricks isn't the first Patriots tight end to be suspended. Earlier this offseason, Benjamin Watson was suspended the first 4 games of the 2019 season for violating the league's policy on performance-enhancing drugs. Kendricks is on the bubble of making the team's 53-man roster. This latest issue will not help his case of making the team. Running back Lamar Miller has had his 2019 season ended prematurely. On Sunday, ESPN announced that the 28-year-old had suffered a torn ACL and would be out for the season. Miller was carted off the field during the first quarter of the Texans matchup versus the Cowboys on Saturday night. The team feared the worst, which was confirmed on Sunday morning. Miller has been Texans' leading rusher since signing with the team in 2016. His loss puts immense pressure on recently acquired running back Duke Johnson and veteran running back Tywan Jones. With roster cutdowns just 1 week away, Texans also have the option of acquiring a veteran rusher off waivers, including recently released running back Doug Martin. The team could also make an inquiry into the Chargers about running back Melvin Gordon, who has refused to report to the team without a new deal in place. The Chargers could benefit from trading the 26-year-old for early draft picks, but we will see what happens moving forward. Quarterback Andrew Luck is calling it a career. On Saturday, ESPN reported that the 29-year-old had informed the Indianapolis Colts that he was retiring from the NFL. Luck proceeded to hold a press conference shortly after the Colts' third preseason game, confirming the news and advising it was a very difficult decision, but repeated battles back from injury had taken their toll on him both mentally and physically. The Stanford alum was a 4-time Pro Bowler, 2014 NFL passing touchdowns leader, and 2018 NFL Comeback Player of the Year. Despite his on-field success, Luck was plagued by injuries, including a torn labrum in his throwing shoulder that he had suffered in 2015 and kept him sidelined the entire 2017 season. He has also battled back from torn cartilage in 2 ribs, a partially torn abdomen, a lacerated kidney, and at least 1 concussion. His recent calf ankle issue only added to his decision to leave the game now. Saturday night brought out the worst in many Colts fans as the news broke during the team's third preseason game. Luck was booed off the field by fans inside the stadium and much maligned on social media for his decision to retire just prior to the start of the regular season. Luck called the booing hurtful, as he had been a workhorse for the team his entire NFL career despite the numerous injuries. In his 7-year NFL career, Luck started 86 games and amassed 2,000 passes for 23,671 passing yards and 171 passing touchdowns touchdowns, along with 332 rushes for 1,590 rushing yards and 14 rushing touchdowns. Luck reached a settlement with the Colts, which avoided having to pay back any monies already received. Many current and former NFL players, many of whom played with and against Luck, came to his defense against the criticism he received for his decision to walk away from the game now. Let's be clear, Luck doesn't owe anyone an explanation for why he chose now. He did his best to try to prepare for the season despite his injury, but mentally the fun was gone and his heart was no longer in it, and he did what he felt was best for him. To expect a player to continue to play even when they feel they are no longer mentally or physically capable of doing so is ridiculous. Luck would risk further injuries if he tried to continue if his mindset is no longer in the game. He made the right decision, not just for himself and his family, but for the Colts organization and their fans. In the short term, it might be a hard thing to accept, but in the long run, it's better for the team and for Luck. His announcement leaves quarterback Jacoby Brissett as the team's starting quarterback. Brissett was traded to the Colts by the Patriots in 2017. Since that time, he has played in 20 games for Indianapolis, starting 15 and amassed 278 passes for 3,100 passing yards and 13 touchdowns. The Colts also have the option of picking up a veteran quarterback after roster cuts next week, but Jacoby Brissett is likely to be the team's starting quarterback. In the meantime, we wish Andrew Luck well in his future endeavors. Finally, for those of you playing fantasy football and who now have lost out on Lamar Miller and Andrew Luck, I want to give you 4 names at the quarterback and running back position to consider. With Miller lost for the season and Luck retiring, many of you fantasy football players have found yourselves scrambling to find a suitable replacement at both of those positions. With that said, let's look at a few names that might still be available out there for you to pick up immediately. Miller was a starting running back in Houston. With the changes made at the offensive line, he looked to have a very promising season coming up. That being said, one place to look is still with the team at Duke Johnson. While it's likely the Texans will pick up a veteran rusher after final roster cuts next week, Johnson will likely take over the starting position. Johnson is a dual threat running back with great potential to play in a run-pass option. If he's available immediately, definitely pick him up. Now, I know Ezekiel Elliott and Melvin Gordon might be available out there still in some leagues, and they might look like they're attractive options, but there is no timetable for either player's return, so it's risky to select either one in hopes of return by the start of the season. Don't make them a target for now, even if they are available, unless it's just to store them for a later date, which again isn't a guarantee. This is the same thing that goes with someone like Kareem Hunt, who is out the first 8 games of the season. Some of the options to look at are Devin Singletary in Buffalo, Justice Hill in Baltimore, Ty Montgomery with the Jets, and Dion Lewis with Tennessee, none of whom are starters but still should pick up some good yards this season and should be available as later round choices. Luck's numbers will be hard to replace, but if you're in a PPR league, most likely there are many options still available since these tend to be running back first leagues. That being said, don't be afraid to pick up Josh Allen in Buffalo, Derek Carr in Oakland, Joe Flacco in Denver, or Case Keenum in Washington. It won't give you Luck numbers, but if you're strong at the running back and wide receiver position, you just need a quarterback that can consistently score for you each week. I hope this advice helps you guys. Well, that's all the time we had today. I want to thank everyone again for listening and spreading the word of the podcast. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at TheNFLGirl320. You can also read more of my thoughts on SheKnowsProFootball.com. Thanks for listening and see you back here next week.